number one, you don't know what the budget is. How do you even go out for that? How do you know you don't need a 1 cent sales tax? I mean, if you hadn't done the budget, how do you come up with a half-cent sales tax, just, out of the blue, when you're not for sure how much it's gonna cost to keep the jail paid and running? I mean, wouldn't you want
I
to
just
do
answered that question.
No, you didn't.
Well,
Then why don't you get a budget first? That's how you do business.
I did kind of somewhat touch on that question. Like I told Randy, I'm gonna be with Roger, and I want to have that in writing on paper and show you next week.
But shouldn't we have done that before we went out for the sales tax?
I did. We did do that before we went out for the sales tax.
You knew the budget before you went out
I
for the
didn't know
sales
the
tax?
budget. I know the figures, the numbers that Roger and I ran, and what it's going to cost. I looked at the payment schedule on the jail. Yes, I did.
Has that got all the people that need to be employed in there too?
No, it does not. It's the
Then how
payment
can
on
you
the
do
jail.
that? Will that not, how will that pay for it? I don't understand that.
I think we're talking about two different deals.
We're talking about two different issues.
He's talking about making jail payments. You're talking about a budget to run the jail.
But it all
They're-
hand in
him and
hand.
Roger's not figuring the budget to
You're
run
right.
the jail.
It's got to be hand in hand,
Well,
Rick.
Yeah, I know.
The tax is based
different.
on debt service and operation of the jail. That's what we're voting on.
That'd be correct.
Both items.
That's hand
We
in
have to
hand.
have both items in order to make informed decisions as voters. So if you're
And
going to
that's what
just vote or just did the numbers for the debt service, that's not going to be adequate when it comes down to deciding whether or not we want to support the additional tax.
I said I was trying. I'd do my best to have you some numbers next week.
Since we're working on numbers, can I ask
Go ahead.
another request?
Go ahead.
Section 4 of the resolution that was passed, I'll read this. The additional 1/2 of 1 cent sales tax is authorized pursuant. And all this said, we preface, water under the bridge, you've already decided to go for the tax, so we're not talking about that. This tax is authorized pursuant to Article 10, Section 35 of the Oklahoma Constitution for economic and community development purposes. Construction of and payment of debt service on Haskell County Jail and criminal justice facility is required due to the county's slower than anticipated growth, and its purpose is economic and community development. I assume you and Roger to work on numbers and determine what that half cent would contribute to the community and to the county in terms of increased economic and community development activities, and can we convert that into real dollars?
And how long will it last?
How long will it last?
The economic benefit, that's correct.
I know where you're going with that. And I just refer you to Farley Ward.
Farley's got nothing to do with this, Mr.
I know.
Commissioner.
I understand what you're saying.
My question has nothing to do with legality. My
Okay.
question has to do with the statement that you said that this was going to enhance economic and community development in Haskell County. I think we as
According-
voters should be able to put a dollar amount on that value.
Well, I do have. Wow. What now?
So those are numbers that I'd like to see as well. As they vote.
And I will do to the best of my ability to have you some numbers next week.
Okay.
I'm sure you want to. I mean, we'll just see what they look like.
The only thing what I was getting on my call was if we do pass the sales tax and it does pass, and it's not enough, then what? The jail sits there paid for, but there's no people to run it. I mean, that's,
Well, my question would be to you, if the other half a cent doesn't maintain it, pay everything,
Mhm.
how you gonna make it without it? Even come close to making it without
I
it?
have no idea. I can't answer that. I don't have the figures. I can't even tell you if the half-cent sales tax is going to pay for what we're going to vote for, because you can't tell me.
I said I would have those numbers next week.
I know, but
I
you've done
apologize
it
to you.
out for it. It's what I'm getting
I
at. You put the horse, you got to put the horse before the wagon so you can pull it.
Once again,
I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be hard on you. I'm
understand.
just saying that this is the way that a business is run. If
I
Rick goes and buys a dump truck, he averages in what's going to take him to pay for it with the driver in the seat.
I understand that. And once again, before we voted on any half-cent sales tax, Roger and I went over the numbers to the best of our ability. And the way we figured it, it's going to work out. Now, I'm sure these numbers will be challenged, and that's fine.
Well, that's,
But that is my answer to your question.
okay, well, thank you.
When you and Roger figured the numbers, did you figure the payments at the whole half, or did you figure them at the fourth?
So, did we figure, we
You
have,
said this, you did the figures, and this half cent will pay for the payments, right?
we figured it 3/4 of a cent going for the payment and 1/4 for maintenance and operation. That's basically what it'll be, be looking at.
Okay.
So in essence, we've doubled the revenue streams for both the payment and the operations portion of the jail.
Correct.
To the question that was asked earlier, if we have a requirement to have how many full-time officers on?
21.
Well, the entire O&M revenue stream would not even pay the salaries of those required deputies to man the jail.
That's true.
I can do that math, so
Nobody'll argue that.
then I don't think we found a solution to the jail issue.
Point A here is that had a budget, an operational budget and management budget been provided before the jail was ever built, you would have seen that. You would have stopped doing, and that's why you have to have an operational budget. You can't operate anything without one. If you don't have a budget to see what you're gonna do and whether you've got the money to pay for it to start with, and you did have a budget as far as the payments. You had an amortization schedule, but nobody looked at it.
None of us were here when that, I agree with everything you're
Oh, you've been
saying.
here for 9 years. and
I
you
wasn't
looked
here
at it
when
many
this-
times
I wa-
since, or you should have.
I did look at it and I told them,
How much is the payments?
and you know,
I can tell you this, the payments, we just hit our peak. And the payments are going down roughly $80,000 to $100,000 a year from here on out. And then they'll level off just above 500,000 and stay there. So.
but we do have 2 large payments to make.
Well, that's because we didn't pay attention to what was coming up at us.
And the 2031 payment, you're right, you're correct in that, Randy. But the 2031 payment, I don't think had anything to do with the junior loan. But
How
maybe
much
it
do you
did.
think 2031 payment is?
I can't tell you exactly, but I think it's $1 million or something.
Okay, well, explain that to you.
2024 is 900 and some odd thousand.
And then you have a big one in
That's the
2031.
junior. That's the junior, hang on. I'll find it just one.
But I guess I have a question.
Give them all, right?
I have this from Nody, and I'd like, everybody can have one, about the two options you have of paying for this jail. I gave you a little bit. If everybody wants one, about, you know, it's either gonna be a sales tax or property tax, and I mean,
Let me clear something up, Paul, before you go any further.
oh, I'm through.
On that payment schedule, I thought I had one here with me. The $1 million payment at the end of it, half of it is already there. That's the
Correct.
reserve.
Reserve.
So that payment is not $1,035,000. It's stated in the books. It's $1,035,000 less $600,000.
Well, we hope, because if we don't do something, we're gonna have to use that reserve money. Would you say there's a chance of using it?
You know, if we do our business diligently. But what I'm saying is you don't have two big payments. You don't have one big one coming in 2024, and that's the junior. That's what I'm talking about there, is nobody with the amortization. I asked you, and you're the one that signed the junior loan in.
Yeah, I signed it.
Okay, I asked you at
I
that
didn't vote
time,
for it,
I asked you at that time, did you know how much our payment was gonna be in 2024? And you said, no, I do not.
but that's correct.
That's what I'm talking about. Nobody is looking down the road here at these payments. If we've been looking to analyze this, that we were gonna have $600,000 a year payments, we wouldn't have built this jail. And that's what I'm saying is you have to do due diligence when you figure a budget, the operational side of it, and the budget of paying for it. And that's something we're still not doing to this day. The jail has no operational budget.
And
Now, you mentioned Nody, about your memo from you. And you said earlier in a meeting, I believe it was last week, that Nody, agreed with you that you could go out for half cent.
no. Nody never, to my knowledge, Nody didn't agree to anything about the half cent. He just gave me the options, what it took to pay for the two options you would have to pay for the jail.
At 8 o'clock this morning, I called Nody, and he returned my call at 8:20. And he told me under no circumstances did he indicate that a half cent sales tax was an option.
Well,
He said he told you that it was at the limit of 2%, and he asked me to call Rachel to get a memo, which I did. And it's the same memo that you have. The only two methods available for significant revenue generation are sales tax or a new property tax levy. The county sales tax is already 2%. The slides and the presentation provide additional details. So under no form did Nody Lansford ever say that this could be successful.
no, I know he didn't. I'm not saying that.
Well, in the meeting last, it was kind of taken by everybody that you had promoted that Nody had signed off on and
No.
agreed to it.
I'm stating just what it says right here. The two options of paying for the jail.
All I'm doing is setting the record straight.
That's what I'm doing.
Okay.
And once again, I don't want a sales tax. I wasn't even in this room talking about it.
I take exception to that, Mr. Commissioner. You say you don't want sales tax, it's the only option you're considering. What Randy's trying to say is we still haven't determined what's gonna take to pay for and operate the jail. But we put a half a cent sales tax on the ballot. Again, that's water under the bridge. We just wanna be assured as voters, we're not gonna be asked to come back in a year and 2 months to prove another source of revenue to fund the operation of the jail. And I'll quote Nody as it relates to sales tax. Caveat, I am not a lawyer, but I do not think sales tax fits the jail debt situation. That was his recommendation to the county.
That is correct. That's what he said.
Your reasoning, as I understood it last week, for going for the sales tax versus any other option, i.e. a potential sales tax increase, we felt it would be easier because it took a majority plus one versus a 60% approval to raise property taxes.
Well, let me ask you a question, maybe we can.
Yeah.
Do you agree that it's either gonna go on the sales tax or property tax?
I don't know, haven't seen a budget. I don't know what